Hello, my name is Bob Hill, and I am president of the Church of Scientology of Riverdale at 308 Broadview Avenue in Toronto. This is our 7th Sunday service delivered online during the coronavirus disease restrictions. As Canadians and people of Ontario, we're making great progress towards getting ahead of the coronavirus in our society, and it's starting to open up again. We look forward to having our churches open soon. In previous sermons, I have used the book The Way to Happiness, a common sense guide to better living, written by L. Ron Hubbard, as a tool and guideline during the pandemic restrictions. Just as there are guidelines to safely open society, so there are guidelines to be happy and live better. Such things as taking care of yourself, looking outward, respecting the religious beliefs of others, treating others the way you would like to be treated, and honoring your parents are personal rules or precepts that can make life better. The topic of today's sermon is how to set a good example. Now, before I get into the main sermon, I'm going to read to you the creed of the Church of Scientology. We of the church believe that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights, that all men have inalienable rights to their own religious practices and their performance, that all men have inalienable rights to their own lives, that all men have inalienable rights to their sanity, that all men have inalienable rights to their own defense, that all men have inalienable rights to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organizations, churches, and governments, that all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others, that all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind, that the souls of men have the rights of men, that the study of the mind and the healing of mentally caused ills should not be alienated from religion or condoned in non-religious fields, and that no agency less than God has the power to suspend or set aside these rights overtly or covertly. And we of the church believe that man is basically good, that he is seeking to survive, that his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows and his attainment of brotherhood with the universe. And we of the church believe that the laws of God forbid man to destroy his own kind, to destroy the sanity of another, to destroy or enslave another's soul, to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group. And we of the church believe that the spirit can be saved, and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over with you is a reference called personal integrity. Now, this is important because you need to have this in as you listen to the sermon, so you're making your own conscious decisions. Okay? Good stuff. What is true for you is what you have observed yourself. And when you lose that, you have lost everything. What is personal integrity? Personal integrity is knowing what you know. What you know is what you know. And to have the courage to know and say what you have observed. And that is integrity. And there is no other integrity. Of course, we can talk about honor, truth, all these things, these esoteric terms. But I think they'd all be covered very well if what we really observed was what we observed. That we took care to observe what we were observing. That we always observed to observe. And not necessarily maintaining a skeptical attitude, a critical attitude, or an open mind, but certainly maintaining sufficient personal integrity and sufficient personal belief and confidence in self and courage that we can observe what we observe and say what we have observed. Nothing in Dianetics and Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it. And it is true according to your observation. That is all. You got it? Good stuff. So keep that in mind. Now, as you go out throughout your day, you can use that too. There's a lot of media and there's a lot of stuff being thrown at you. And by using that particular reference, you can sift through and actually see what's true for you, okay? Good. Now the next thing we're going to get started on is the sermon. You ready? Good. Scientology is a practical religion. It's for use to improve situations. Scientology teaches a person how to know. That's what the word means, knowing how to know. I'm going to take time to clear up some of the words in the sermon because understanding words makes it possible to learn and to survive. Our sermon today is on how to set a good example in chapter 6 of The Way to Happiness, a common sense guide to better living, written in 1982. Here's what the book looks like. Nice, isn't it? There are many people one influences. To influence is to have an effect upon or change in some way. The influence, the resulting effect, can be good or it can be bad. You could call someone up and tell them a lot of bad news in a nasty way and make them feel bad. That would be you giving a bad influence on someone. You could call someone up and listen to them and encourage them and make them feel happier from your call. That would be you having a good influence on someone. In an earlier sermon, there was a tool to figure out good conduct by looking at how you would want to be treated. I recommended that you practice the virtues in living. The virtues are ideal qualities of human conduct such as kindness, honesty, fairness, self-control, politeness, and these virtues were recommendations for better living. The Way to Happiness has many recommendations that can lead to happiness. Now, if one conducts his life to keep these recommendations, one is setting a good example. Others around one cannot help but be influenced by this, no matter what they say. Okay? So think about that. You know, those virtues we went over in earlier sermons. If you follow them, you'd be setting a good example. Anyone trying to discourage you is trying to do so because they factually mean you harm or are seeking to serve their own ends. Down deep, they respect you. So keep that in mind too. When you're applying these things, even if someone tries to dissuade you, they actually do respect you for trying to uphold that. For example, someone's trying to get another person to take harmful drugs. They may want to get that person hooked for money or to control them. That makes sense to you? Good. Anyone might have the challenge of someone trying to get them to do something illegal or harmful to others. I'm sure that's come up. What would you do if that happened to you? How could you show strength? Your own survival chances will be bettered in the long run since others' influence will become less of a threat. There are other benefits. So let's take that one. Someone's trying to influence you to do something harmful. You say, no, I'm not going to do that. I find it illegal, and you walk away. Now at the time, you may think that it didn't do anything. But the truth is, you may have influenced 4 or 5 other people in that room who were sitting there listening to that one guy talking about doing that illegal thing, and they decide not to do it. That's a good result. You may never find out about it, but on the other side of the coin, you created a good effect. For example, I once witnessed a car accident. This was quite a few years ago. And in that car accident, there were some people that were injured. The person that was driving the car that caused the injuries tried to run away from the scene physically. and I started shouting at them to stop and to turn around. And, I said, listen, you got to stop. If you run away from this, you're going to get in more trouble. Well, thankfully, the person did stop. They came back to the scene of the accident and probably avoided some pretty severe criminal charges for taking off. So, don't discount. Discount means to not believe or set aside as not true. The effect you can achieve on others simply by mentioning these things and setting a good example in your own right. In one's own right, it means by one's own ability without depending on others. You could set a good example by cleaning up your yard or your balcony, planting flowers, and when someone else does the same, really, it acknowledges you. You should look at them and say, so you set a good example. You clean up your front porch. So your neighbor comes out and cleans up their front porch. So you've set a good example, but you acknowledge them and say, great, looks much better. And that helps them to continue to do that. Okay? Many of you have worked out what good conduct is. Now I ask you to look at how you can set a good example for others. Then I ask you to do those things and see if you are happier as a result. The way to happiness requires that one set a good example for others. You got it? That's it for today's sermon. We will now read the prayer for total freedom. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe, and may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want. Freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential. A potential that is God-given and God-like. And freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. Now, if you have questions or you would like someone to talk to you, you can reach us at 416-792-1889. And we also have copies of The Way to Happiness and free booklets on how to stay well available online. In summary, keep yourself well and safe and set a good example. Join us next Sunday for more ways to help you improve and handle your lives in this extraordinary and challenging times. Thank you.